The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, out botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
This podcast is brought to you by TeamTrade, a digital solution that helps you hire, optimize, and retain employees. Using psychometric assessments to identify more than 100 professional mindset traits, it gives instant reports you can use to build high-performing teams. Get 2 free profiles today, no commitment, no credit card required, at teamtrait.com. TeamTrait.com. Welcome to the Manage Smarter podcast with hosts C. Lee Smith and Audrey Strong. We're glad you're here for discussions on new ways to manage smarter, hire, develop, and retain talent, improve results, and propel team performance to new heights. This is the Manage Smarter podcast.
I don't know if anybody else has had this going on with their website traffic, Lee, but we really haven't talked too much about SEO and AI on the show, but it seems to me like a lot of people's clicks are taking a haircut.
Yeah, and one of the things that occasionally on this show, we focus on the psychology of leadership, and sometimes we delve into sales leadership, but in this case, we're going to deal with marketing leadership, whether you're a brand marketer, you're a CMO, anything like that, you're struggling a little bit with some of the changes of things that have worked in the past, aren't no longer working as well as they used to. And of course, that's basically par for the course in marketing, I guess. But that's we've got a great guest today that can maybe help explain some of the crazy things that are going on in digital marketing these days.
We are so lucky to have him. And so welcome to Manage Smarter, everyone. We're lucky to have you listening. My name is Audrey Strong. I'm the Senior Vice President of Communications here at Sales Fuel.
And I'm C. Lee Smith. I'm the CEO and founder of Sales Fuel.
All right. So Corey Morris is our guest today. He's an experienced industry speaker, best-selling author, and the founder and CEO of Voltage Digital Marketing Agency. He's authored the Digital Marketing Success Plan, which details why companies need to document digital marketing in today's unprecedented era of constant change and the intersectionality with AI. We're kind of at a fork in the road right now. And he spent nearly 20 years growing and working with national and local brands. Corey, you got to be the answer man on all this. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
First question, though, digital marketing, why is that your jam? How'd you get into it?
Yeah, without giving you the whole career arc, I'll say it was just kind of an accident that I fell into it. This is the 20th year of my career. And so in 2005, things were still emerging. There was still a lot of closed source stuff. SEO had been around, but I just fell into a digital agency and fell in love early on with the fact that we could measure and almost have instant gratification over the effect of the work we were doing compared to some of the traditional marketing channels and advertising channels. So networked my way into that. Didn't really mean to be in the digital sphere, but as I look back now and look at the turns and twists I've taken in my career, wouldn't ever change it for anything. I might have done a few things differently or faster, but I wouldn't take back too much of it.
I was reading just this morning about how now 5% of all search engine traffic now is actually happening on ChatGPT. And and candidly, I like Perplexity myself. I'm a Perplexity guy, but nonetheless, it's like, so what does that mean then for search engine optimization and digital marketing as a whole?
Yeah. So one thing I'll point out real quick is I was at an event in 2019, actually. I got to share some state of the search industry data at SEM PDX in Portland. And I sat down after that for one of the next sessions. It was Rand Fishkin sharing some of the zero click search trend data. And this is in 2019, and this trend had already
Wow.
started.
Mhm.
So pre COVID and pre AI boom, and this was already happening with direct answers and some of the hard things to quantify with voice search that had emerged a few years prior and all of that. So this is it's I'm not surprised at all. And we just saw recent data that showed that Google's search market share had dropped under 90% for the first time in a while, which is interesting. But it's still the bulk of search, but search behavior is different, right? And so there's a couple different metrics of how we look at, who's getting search share, like Google is still getting nearly 90% of it, but what they're doing with that traffic or not doing with it, whether we're getting as many clicks from ads or getting as many clicks through organically. And so with the emergence of other sources, it's definitely an exciting time. I look at it as an opportunity because it's going to put the emphasis for us to know where, not just who our personas are and our target audiences are, but where they're searching, and focus on quality and not quantity as much.
Yeah, I want to dive into that zero click. So for the uninitiated, this is you could this is an evergreen show. So like you could be listening to this in 2026, 27, but in 2025, when we're talking about zero click, that close to 60% of Google searches do not generate a single click. And of that, of the 40% that's left, 30% of that goes to news. It goes to another Google site. It goes to YouTube. It goes to Maps, goes to Reddit, things like that. So what does that mean for somebody then that relies on SEO to get a lot of their leads?
Yeah, so SEO hasn't officially died, even though it's been declared dead. However, many times over the years as things have changed, I can't pull out my crystal ball and say whether SEO will die and become a dated term this time or if will continue to evolve. But it's definitely looking at the differential or the more diversification of traffic sources and focusing on where your audience is. And so that's changing potentially by the day, week, or month, and understanding the quality versus quantity aspect of it is critical. We've worked with some partners who are used to very old school models on the paid search side of things of commission of ad spend, and people are freaking out with less clicks. But we're like, I don't care about that. It's about the business outcome and metric that it should have been all along of what you're getting. And so in some cases, my team has pointed out, please stop looking at clicks and care about the conversions or the ROI generated from it, because in some cases, when in that quality versus quantity mindset, when we can evolve and shift to that, we're seeing greater results on less clicks, but we're squeezing it better, or we're understanding where our audience is, and that is critical. It's not as much about having a big blanket strategy out to everyone, but it really is applying a little bit more one-to-one thinking, like you might do in LinkedIn, and where you might in email marketing and other digital marketing sources or channels, to SEO as well, which is a totally different approach from targeting the masses as we did 5 and 10 years
How does
ago.
that work? What are you doing as best practices? Like to get me and the AI printout at the top of the Google page before the ads run below it. Is that the focus, or
Yeah,
tell me
so
more about what this looks like?
yeah, some of it is understanding. We're also seeing the trend of while attribution has never been something that we all feel is perfect, it got better for a while. It was a buzzword, 10 years ago. It got better, and then privacy laws and other things have been peeling back some layers of it, and now we have to operate in some different ways of correlating data, because we're not necessarily getting the click, or it might be upstream and then someone comes around and converts and we can't track it in a direct way. But if someone, how we influence getting into that AI overview in Google, for example, at the top of the page, in some ways is similar to what the answer box was, which started this trend,
Mhm.
years ago as well. And so would you rather be there and maybe not get the immediate click, but get the impression and have some of the brand recognition come in and some of the thought leadership and authority building status build up, and then correlate that later, connecting all the touch points to your digital presence? Or do you want to block that and take more protective modes to how you gate content and go one-to-one out to people in other channels? So there are definitely some debates and different feelings on how people are approaching it now. I'm more for, I want to be there if it's the right answer for the right target audience.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it leads me to my next question, actually, is like down at the bottom of the first page of Google, you get people also ask. And, with the AI, that's embedded at the top of the page, and, people also ask, that's leading me to wonder, is the key to success going forward answering questions rather than providing content or providing web pages and everything like that that can be found organically?
Yeah, so content remains the fuel for search, just like it is for other channels. And so I think back to strategies for things like email or LinkedIn and other places where you have a lead magnet or you have content that's of value, not not clickbait, but content of value. And so if you know what works in those other areas, fine tuning that and making sure that's where you're putting a lot of your focus for search is key. And whether that's a trickle of people, but quality versus quantity that you're landing a month versus getting the masses to come to your article, and then 99.5% of them don't take any further action on that, then you at least have more conviction behind what you're creating, why you're creating it, and how to fine tune it and build almost pillars of content around that, instead of just this wide ranging blog strategy or article strategy that is about how much you can produce in a short period of time.
That's interesting. Lee, we wanted to, obviously we want to get conversions and lead gen. Excuse me. So how are you getting that to a sales qualified lead? Because it's quality over quantity. And how are you nurturing your leads?
Yeah, we have a number of clients doing things in B2B service industry spaces who are focused on their thought leadership, and whether it's Fortune 500 companies or highly technical things that their services that they're selling. It's often about sharing value early on in the process. If we can shorten the sales process and not have them have to come back, if we can answer their question and share value in one moment versus trying to use essentially a search engine or 5 channels to nurture them, we can win a lot faster and track it in a more reliable way. Naturally, there are a lot of industries who might have a 9 to 12 month sales cycle. We can't necessarily push them to take an action, and we don't want to cross the line of spamming or looking overly salesy if they're in the problem identification mode versus problem solving mode. But at the same time, being that resource has been key. And so some of these types of guides and other types of pieces of valuable content where we're giving more away and sharing our expertise early versus just glossing over a topic and being one of 1,000 people just trying to educate you on what a definition is for a term, helps us get closer to that conversion point.
Interesting. Lee, you're a very early adopter of AI, and you've baked functionality into some of our products. It sounds to me, Corey, like you're saying, if SEO is dead, you could pretty much just ignore keyword searches.
So it's about the right keyword searches for us, right? Where there still is volume today, but there's definitely a balance of not ignoring what's to come or what is coming rapidly or happening right now over on the AI side of things, and just ignoring it, but also not being so focused on where things are going that you ignore what is working today. So finding that right balance. And so for some of our clients or some of my colleagues or myself, you have to look at, Am I the innovator type who is just chasing that newest thing, even though maybe it's for a sliver of the audience today, and ignoring what's working? And I need to rein that in some. And or the other side, do I need to schedule time to be testing and force myself to have it in the schedule, and not have it be the thing that's pushed out and I don't get to at the end of my day or the end of my week? Or do a little bit of both and nerd out like my wife and I did from like 7 to midnight on a Friday night a couple of weeks
Yes.
ago. She's a scientist, and we're both sitting there on our laptops in front of the TV using Chat GPT and pushing some limits on some things that we were trying to do.
That's
Well,
great.
that leads me to another thought. So how, compared to like 5 years ago, how has AI changed the value that you provide to your agency clients?
Yeah, in many cases, we are pushing our clients, or we're their trusted advisor in terms of bringing them along. I just saw some research recently, though, showing a disconnect between where agencies think they're positioned as AI expertise and where marketers think agencies are. And there's a pretty decent 15 or 17 point percentage gap there. I believe it was from RSW US and their state of the industry survey. And I found that fascinating. And so it's not enough just to say we're doing things or what we're testing, but it's proving it and showing it in terms of what we can do, and that can change by the week or month as well. And so I can definitely point to examples of people I feel like I won't do it because I'm out of respect, but of where I see people falling behind. And I'll point to others where, I have to not have imposter syndrome myself of people who are pushing way ahead while I try to find that balance in the middle to not be too far ahead of where my client can even go, especially in industries where we have clients in healthcare and finance who are a lot more heavily regulated and compliance,
Right.
where we have to be respectful and follow proper channels to stay in the guidelines there.
Yeah, the confidentiality of the data, particularly where you've got HIPAA issues and you've got financial issues, I would have to think that you really have to firewall that pretty well whenever you're using AI for a client like that.
Yeah, I was just actually researching this yesterday for my own business because I've got this sweet dashboard that I've got planned out, and I was about to start putting some financial numbers in there, and I'm like, wait a minute, I can't get too comfortable, and I have to know where that line should be drawn before I go put things out in the open source universe.
So put on your prediction hat, like it's 2025. Where will so this episode obviously will come out in the year for the year. Where do you think we'll be a year from now in January of 2026 with AI and marketing and
Yeah,
SEO?
I think we'll be in a place where we have to be working smarter and not harder. So doing things the long way, the manual way, and or the expensive because it hasn't been made efficient by AI ways, will be in trouble. So friends who may have a business model where they haven't integrated it all are going to get undercut, fairly or not, by someone who disrupts the industry, who says, I can do your website, I can do your digital marketing, I'm a one person team, I can do it for a fraction of the cost. So I think there's going to be a lot of noise and a lot of undercutting from new emerging people in the space who see it as an opportunity as an industry to disrupt. While at the same time, I feel like those who do things really well and understand how to operate AI really well and not try to make AI do it all itself, and bring in any number of years of experience in problem solving and understanding how to set a strategy and a plan, would be able to master that at more of an enterprise level and not just be a promised shortcut solution that will have, capped results as well.
Right.
Yeah, so Audrey's question led me to think about AI agents and whether that's an opportunity or threat for you. So that's one question. And my last question is going to be, is AI causing some in-house marketers, for example, then to take on more stuff themselves and ferret less stuff out to agencies like yours? So really two questions in one.
Yeah, I think we'll still have the problem of how many hats we wear, and how generalist versus specialist we try to be. I've learned this the hard way before AI of being a generalist agency and then now trying to be a specialist. There's so much depth in just the two things that my agency does that it's still, an opportunity for us to go deeper in certain ways. And I think whether you're an in-house marketer, looking at whether you need an agency or contractors, coaches, consultants, partners, vendors or not, if you're having to be a master of AI and try to create agents of your own and optimize them and get them to work efficiently, if they're customer facing or if they're even just doing tasks in-house for you, even if they're helping you with strategy, you're going to want help somewhere or an outside person, even if it's in-house, outside of your team, helping you with checks and balances and to make sure that we can trust what it's doing and it's effective for product and sales and marketing and the C-suite and everyone else who has a seat at the table who may not have an SEO or a digital marketing word in their title.
Right. Well, voltage.digital is the agency website, and CoreyMorris.com is your other way. What's on CoreyMorris.com?
Yeah, so that's my personal coaching, speaking, consulting website. And then the third one is the DMSP.com, short for Digital Marketing Success Plan, which is connected with my book as well.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that. I know I already asked my last question. This drives Audrey nuts. But it's like, it was one of the things we didn't get to, and you held up the book, so I want to know what's in the book.
Yeah, so I wrote it over the past year and a half, and it is a 5-step planning framework. I've seen too many brands and companies to get taken for a ride by agencies. And I took all the lessons I've learned from making pretty much every mistake in the book, which turned into an insight.
Which turned into the book.
And taking a process that was hard to articulate, we always iterated on and standardizing into 5 steps. So it's the START, which is an acronym, 5-step framework for how to go through in a 60 to 90 day span of creating your own digital marketing plan, which can account for all the disruptions like AI and everything else that's coming, but make it a documented, accountable, not in someone's head plan that you can make actionable for the next year.
That's fantastic. I'm going to go to that website when we hang up for sure and get a look at it. Corey, this has been great. Thank you so much. What a pleasure to meet you. And I'll just say it. I'll be the one. We're recording this before the Super Bowl 2025. Oh, God. Good luck to your Chiefs.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
As a Cincinnati fan, that really hurts.
I know, I'm a Bears fan.
Well, yeah, you're not even in the conversation.
I know, it's not even a thing.
You're barely in the league.
I don't take it for granted. I'm as excited about this one as the first one.
That's good. Corey, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more great information at salesfuel.com.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.